Speaker, for granting this important urgent question. The Minister does hit the nail on the head when she says this is about freedom from government interference, although it's quite something to start by knowing we will get no answer to any of our questions. We have a very proud tradition of a fiercely independent press in our country, and a press which holds us in this place to account, and a press which shines a light on misbehavings and misdoings both here and abroad. Yet we see a situation where a paper of record, the Daily Telegraph and the Spectator, the longest running magazine in the world and my personal podcast of choice, will be purchased by a foreign state. The concern here is not foreign ownership, it is foreign state ownership. And in this situation, you cannot separate sheikh and state. And these are our concerns. I worry when we look more broadly, we have allowed our media, critical national infrastructure for our democracy, to fall between the cracks. We have the Defending Democracy Task Force, which only looks at electoral concerns. We have the National Security Investment Act, which has 17 sectors, but none of which are the media, and therefore we have no protections for this sort of situation. I have therefore 4 questions I'm hoping the Minister will at least attempt to answer, and I appreciate the restrictions in place. First, are there any examples around the world of a nation with differing media values, to be polite, acquiring the newspaper of another country? Secondly, will the government commit to a national security investigation into these purchases? 3, does the government not recognise its intervention in the UAE purchase of Vodafone sets a precedent that they can intervene here? And finally, will the government look to either extend the Defending Democracy Task Force or the 17 sectors under the NS&I sectors to make sure that we can protect our media, because this is something that will make us vulnerable, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, but for the rest of our lives, and we cannot afford our media to be undermined.
Here. Minister.
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for her questions. Now, as she is aware, a public interest intervention notice has been issued in this case. That means that I'm not able to speak to a number of the points that will be likely raised, but it does also mean that there are powers under the Enterprise Act that allow us to look into acquisitions of this nature, that allow us to look at issues of media freedom and of expression, that allow us, we also have powers in relation to the National Security Act, which the Cabinet Office has a role in, and will allow the Secretary of State for Culture to look at some of the questions that she raises. There will now be an investigation by the Competition and Markets Authority, but also Ofcom, and that will look into all of these questions in great detail. That will allow the Secretary of State to make a judgment on which action she next takes, and potentially a longer investigation whereby she would be able to then be offered a particular remedies or be able to prevent a transaction. But I cannot speculate as to which actions she would likely take at this stage.